With regard to like Gerald Lewis and Mickey, what is your age compared to them?
Well, let's see. If I'm not mistaken, I think there's like 9 months between Jimmy and Jerry, 9 months between Jerry and Mickey, and 9 months between Mickey and me. I'm the youngest.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Very cool.
It's amazing. I like 9 months apart. It's not, maybe 9 or 10 or whatever, you know.
So you grew up with them?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Y'all grew up. Did y'all ever go to school together?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So that book that I have, I think it's called Faraday, Louisiana. You need to get that. Is that your phone?
Is it?
I don't know. Something was dinging.
I don't know where it's at.
Okay. Well, anyway, I have the book it's called Faraday, Louisiana.
Uh-huh.
Have you ever heard of it?
I don't think so.
Anyway, it's a story of the three brothers. I mean, the three cousins.
Three cousins.
And it's all about how their moms would make them compete in church. Like
really?
When they would sing, you know, well, this one's better at the piano, and now this one's got to be better at the piano. They were always in competition with one another.
I never heard that.
Really?
No.
I'll have to let you read my book.
Okay.
It's pretty interesting. I mean, it's really neat.
Yeah, I'd like to read it.
I think
but
you'd like it.
a lot of that is fictitious. You know, they want to
Really?
make it bigger than what it is. But
It was more so it was the moms.
and possibly it could have been.
Yeah.
I didn't know. You know,
Yeah.
I was just a kid myself.
Yeah, it's the way the book kind of makes it out to be is like the moms were in competition with each other.
Yeah, that's possible.
So
That's possible.
so it's possible. So kind of if you can because I'm going to forget anyway. I've already forgotten the day I met you. I had you kind of break down the lineage, but explain the Gilley and Lewis to where we come in together, because I don't understand the three. Remember me telling you about the three and the three?
Yeah.
How does that work? Because I know because my grandma Carrie, my great grandmother, my grandfather, my papa Leon, his mom, we called her Shotgun Granny. Did you ever know that? That's what you did.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not the only person that knew. We used to always call her Shotgun Granny.
Well, I didn't know exactly those terms, but I knew some of the shenanigans that happened.
You did?
Yeah.
You have to tell me some.
You don't want to tell it on camera.
Why not? Was it that bad? Really? It might make for way more entertainment.
The thing of it is, I'm a kid, and this was like told to me, and so I didn't actually see it, you know. But it was told that she got upset with the preacher, and he was plowing in the field, and she went out in the field with a knife and ran him out of the field.
See, okay, well, it's not far from what I heard.
Yeah.
Mine was someone came on her property, and she told him to get off.
Yeah.
And she went back inside and got her shotgun and shot him.
Yeah.
Wow. And nothing ever happened.
No, I didn't hear that now. I didn't hear that.
But you heard the knife story.
Yeah.
I like to think I'm a lot like her. I love my grandma.
I tell you what, she had some spice in her life.
I only got, she lived to be 108.
I know.
And I would go visit her, and she had a sign up, a picture. It was signed by President George W. Bush.
Oh, really?
And it said happy birthday to her, and she had it framed and put right inside. She had the last little bit of her life, she was living on Uncle Freddie's land in a trailer. And that's the last time I went and visited her. But I remember she had a thing for green frogs. She had a lot of green frogs, a lot of green stuff.
I can tell you a story about the green frog.
Really? So I'm not, I thought maybe it was just because I was a kid. I just remember seeing a bunch of frogs there.
Freddie brought me that frog.
Really?
Freddie brought me that frog about several years ago. And
the ceramic one?
Yeah. And I did have it out there. I don't know whether it's still out there or not. But anyway, it had little pits all in it, you know.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I remember it.
But I don't remember this because I was just a kid. And he said I had a knife or I had a spoon or whatever, and I was hitting that frog, and he was telling your Aunt Carrie said I want an eyeball. That's what he said. Because I couldn't pronounce it. I was saying and she said, Aunt Carrie said, my mama said, Lottie, what is that boy saying? Said he wants an apple.
Did you really want an apple or an eyeball? Which one did you want?
I wanted an apple. I couldn't say apple. I was saying eyeball.
So you really didn't want an apple, though?
I wanted an apple. So the way I needed to get it was just being on that frog.
That's so funny.
And he thought it was the funniest thing in the world. He brought it to me. So I want to bring you that frog. Guess you beat the fool out of it.
Isn't that neat that I remember it though?
I know, and that's something.
Yep, I remember she had and she loved frogs. She
And
loved frogs. Yeah, I remember that. That's pretty cool. But anyways, you were telling me though, you were saying something about in relation to Mickey and Gilley and them. How do you tie in? How does that all work? Our family.
Well, let's see. My dad, which was a Lewis,
Okay.
And my mother was a Gilley.
Okay, so you were really that was.
Yeah, I'm a half and half.
You really are.
Yeah,
Really.
I really am. Yes.
Wow.
I got more Lewis than I am Gilley.
So how did that happen?
I guess the Lewises like the Gilleys.
But I mean,
I never know kin,
Right, and it was totally
But,
everybody just was
yeah.
like, "This is cool."
Oh yeah.
Were there just not that many people to date, or what?
Now you're asking me something that's beyond
I
my
know.
knowledge because I don't know.
I'm just wondering why it was so many that liked so many.
I want to tell you the Gilley girls are pretty. I'm telling you, you're pretty yourself.
Well, thank you.
Very pretty.
Thank you.
And and I've always said that. I mean, most of the Gilley girls are real pretty, and so I guess they were pretty back then.
So your mom was a Gilley, and
Gilley.
it was her, and her sisters were the ones that married.
No,
I'll let you finish.
No, that was my dad. My dad's sisters that married into the Gilley family. So Dad was a Lewis,
Okay.
and he married a Gilley, and so a lot of his sisters married Gilley brothers,
I got you.
and that made like double first cousins. With
Right,
them.
right.
And but in my case, my mother was Mickey's daddy's uncle. My mother's uncle. I call him uncle, and so but that was her uncle, and he married my daddy's sister, which was Aunt Irene.
Okay, so your dad's sister married a man that was a Gilley.
Yeah.
And they had Mickey.
No.
I'm confused now.
Okay, let's see. Man Gilley was my mother's daddy.
What was his name?
But Uncle Man, they called him Man.
Really?
Manuel,
Okay.
for short, Man. And but Daddy's sister, Aunt Irene, married Uncle Arthur, which was my mother's uncle.
Your mother's uncle.
My mother's uncle, yeah.
Wow, so there must have been an age gap.
So
there.
I'm a first cousin to Mickey and a second cousin to Mickey.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
And then so Gilley and Jimmy, where do they fall in? Their parents?
Jerry Lee's daddy and my daddy were brothers.
Really?
Yeah. But Jerry Lee's mother and Jim Lee's mother were sisters.
Wow.
Yeah.
But they weren't
They were
sisters
in
to
the
your
Heron
mom?
family. No, they were from the Heron family.
Gotcha. I gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that Jimmy always claims that they're double first cousins with Jerry Lee, but I don't think so. I know he's a first cousin on his mother's side because the two mothers were sisters, but on the daddy's side, he was like a son to the father. So
Wow.
That's kind of confusing.
It is. It's very confusing.
Yeah.
But everybody just went with it.
Oh yeah, everybody. Yeah.
So that movie Great Balls of Fire.
Yeah.
Is it pretty
Oh,
true
yeah.
to how it was?
I
And
think
when he married his 13-year-old cousin.
Yeah.
You really, you were there, you witnessed it,
I didn't witness it, but I knew about it.
and nobody thought. So where was she at in the family? Was she on the?
Let me tell you a little bit of something about Gerald and I. And my last year in Fairdy, I was dating a girl by the name of Jane, and he was dating a girl by the name of Jane. And they both lived in Natchez. And he would swing by an Aunt Stella's brand new Buick and pick me up on Saturday night and take me to see my girl, and he'd go see his girl. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, that is.
And for my whole year there, he did that. He'd come out and pick me up every Saturday night. And so.
But he ended up not marrying someone of that age. He married somebody.
Well, Gerald was a little older than me, and I think he did wind up marrying this girl. Her name was Jane Mitchum.
Well, no, but the movie, it says he married his 13-year-old cousin.
Well, he did later on.
Oh.
This was later on.
Gotcha.
You know, Jerry's been married 7 times.
Okay. That's right. So he may have married the older one, and then he came back to someone younger.
Maybe so.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's really cool. That's neat. So yeah, I was asking you to tell me something about your childhood, other than, you know, how I just ran you down a rabbit hole of the whole Gerald Lee and Lewis and Gilley family. But what was it like there? Because you said, as I was telling you about how people come to the estate sales and they always want to buy stuff from like the 1950s. Yeah. And I asked you, I said, how old were you in the 1950s? And you said you had turned what?
13 in 1950. 13. Yeah.
So that was that. I asked you, I said, was that a good time? And you said,
oh yeah, the 50s was a great year for me.
What was it like then in the 50s?
Well, we thought we had it well off, you know. And I didn't come from a rich family. I didn't have a silver spoon in my mouth, you know. My family was very poor, but I didn't think I was. I mean, I had a good time. I've always had a good time all my life. I've worked hard all my life. Never expected a handout or anything of that nature. But God's been good to me. And I mean, when I was young, I got into church, and at the time I was probably about 8 years of age, kind of like Jimmy tells his story about getting saved. I was probably close to 8 years old myself, but we were not in the same place at the same time. This was down in Mangum. This is where, back years ago, they would give a man starting out in Louisiana, I believe it was, 30 acres and a mule.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Really?
I believe it was 30 acres and a mule. It might have been 15 acres.
When did they give that to you?
It was must have been in the early 1900s or something like that, you know. But my dad inherited his acreage and a mule. And,
really?
And we lived right behind the church that I attended. But there was like a little, it was like a slough that went through there. I tell people that. I never heard of a slough. Well, it's kind of like it's not a lake. It's not, it's almost like a big ditch is what it really is.
Yeah.
And it just goes a long ways. And my dad never did know how to build anything. His dad always wanted to be a carpenter, and my dad said he could never build anything. And I never could build anything, and he couldn't build anything. So he put a log there, and so we would walk to church across that slough, and it was just a little piece of the church, and that's where I got saved, and repented of all my terrible sins. You know, I was only 8 years old, but I told somebody the other day, I said, this preacher come in, and I said, he preached on hell, and he scared it out of me, and I want to get saved.
So you were 8 when that happened.
Yeah, and you know, I started on hopefully the right road. I never drank, I never smoked, I did any of those kind of things. Doesn't make me any better than anybody else. I was just as lost as a goose. But I saw alcoholism runs in our family, and one person said one time we were either.
I was wondering if that was the case.
We were either bootleggers or preachers, from one extreme to the other.
Yeah. I mean, my dad was an alcoholic. I don't know if you knew that or not.
No.
You didn't know that?
It seemed like I knew something to that effect.
And I was wondering
I didn't know your dad that well, really.
I was wondering if that was in my genes.
Yeah. Well, you know, yeah, I'm sure. And I'm sure that it's in mine.
Is it more of a Lewis or more of a Gilley? Or at this point, it really is the same thing?
I guess if you have it, you have it. But I think the Lewises is more inclined to be alcoholics. My grandfather, which was born in 1856.
I knew his grandma Carrie was born in 1890, 90-something.
He was born in 1856, and my son was born in 1956. I have to deal with these numbers and stuff, you know. My oldest son was born in 56. I said, let me go back. He was born in 1856. And my
Okay.
son was born in 100 years later.
Wow.
My son was born. Isn't that something?
That is.
But my grandfather was an alcoholic. And he was a pharmacist.
Uh-huh.
And, can I tell that story?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Anyway, he was his father was a doctor here in Monroe. They tell me, and he was a pharmacist. He worked in pharmaceutical.
Was he a Lewis or a Gilley?
Lewis.
Okay, Lewis.
He was my grandfather, Lewis,
Okay.
Lee Lewis.
Okay.
And anyway, all of our people in Ruston were rich people. All the Lewises over there. I haven't found any that would claim kin to me yet. But back in his day, someone would die and he would get an inheritance. And back in those days, back in the 1800s, they paid you in silver dollars, and he'd have sacks full of silver dollars,
When
like
someone
a
would
wagon
pass?
full of silver dollars, and he'd bring them back. And he'd either give it away or he would drink it all. And
what would they get the silver dollars for?
well, back in those days, it was more silver than it was, paper money.
Right, but I'm saying, why would he get it? Who would give it to him?
It was inheritance. He got his
Oh.
inheritance.
From people passing? They'd give it to the doctor?
Yeah, and they'd give it to him, And that was his inheritance. He'd bring it back in a wagon, load just full of silver and all. And so, what he decided he wanted not to be a pharmacist anymore, and he came down and he met my grandmother, and she was just a baby at the time, and he was probably 16 years old, and he held her in his lap and he said, I'm going to marry this girl when she gets grown. And he did.
Wow.
Isn't that something?
That is.
And so anyway, he moved among them, and he wanted to be a farmer. And my mother told me this, that he would get up every morning and put on his suit and tie and all this, and then put on his white smock that he used as a pharmacist.
Uh-huh.
And he put that on and he'd go out and plow me. Didn't know anything about farming, but he wanted to be a farmer.
Really?
Yeah.
Did he do okay with it?
No.
No, he did terrible. So this was your granddad?
My granddad.
So he never he didn't stay in that field.
No.
He went back to being a pharmacist?
Well, no, he stayed like that. I don't know how. My mom always said that he was very educated, and he would sit on the porch and he would read, and people could hear him. Back in those days, out on the porch, and you could hear him for miles reading. That's just a strong voice. And but
did you know him well?
he died the year I was born.
Wow.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
In 1937, he died. He was 81 years old.
Wow. Huh.
Isn't that something? I mean, I'm interested in my folks like you are too, and I go back and I look and say, man,
Yeah.
he was 81.
But your mom and dad, how long did they live?
My dad lived to be almost 100. He's like 2 months been 100.
Everybody jokes and they're like, it's the Lewis blood. It's the Lewis blood. They will live forever. Yeah, that's what I've always said. My granddad, he died and he was almost 90. And he fell. I don't know if you
I remember that.
You knew
he fell off of a shed.
Yeah. He was in his
He should have been out there.
No, but he thought he needed to nail the tin down.
I know.
And this shed used to hold the tractors and the what are they called? The things that they put in the fields to pick up all the cotton.
Cotton picker?
Yes. Hush. That's how tall this shed was, though.
Yeah.
Hush. But I remember their shed was so tall.
Yeah.
And I remember when he fell, they called me and they said, Tara, Papa Leon's fallen, and they said they're rushing him to the hospital. And I lived in West Monroe at the time, and so they were bringing him to Glenwood, which was right by my house. And so I rushed to the hospital, and I was there and met him at the ER doors when they were getting him off the ambulance. And I kind of wish I wouldn't have been there when I saw that, because it was pretty gory.
It looked good.
And he shattered all the bones here, and then one lung collapsed. And he didn't think anything was wrong with it. Like, he thought that he was just going to get back up and get right back at it.
Yeah.
When he came to, he was just like, get me out of here.
Yeah.
And he probably, but he never really recovered much after that. But he died in the year Christian was born, which was in 2007.
2007.
Yeah.
I remember I lost my youngest sibling in 03. Yeah, 03. And I remember Leon being there at the funeral.
Really?
And if you don't want this on,
No,
you
please,
can cut this
go,
out
by all
because
means. Yeah.
it was so fun because at the time he was kind of going through a little thing with his memory.
And what year was this?
This was in 03.
Okay, yeah.
And he would say something to me like, his wife, your grandmother's name's Christine. He looked at me and he said, Christine's kind of getting fat.
Oh, yeah.
And he'd laugh.
Oh, all the time.
He would laugh about that.
He would say it all the time. And we would be like, Papa, stop talking about Grandma. He would say, he'd go, she's going to eat all of our food. Y'all better eat all the food on your plate. Christine's going to eat it all.
Oh, Lord. But they loved each other.
I know, but he always picked on her about being fat.
I know it. It was so funny because he would keep bringing it back to me. I would say, why don't you leave that alone? Like,
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, he thought it was hilarious.
Christine, you're going to hear this in a minute. And
it never bothered her.
no, I guess not.
It would drive. I'd be so mad if my husband called me fat.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't.
He was always ready to go when it got dark time. He didn't want to drive after dark.
A lot of the older, like I said, I was change of life, baby, and I was kind of like on the lower ladder of the cousins, and it made me a lot younger than them. So. And just like Mickey, he's the youngest in his family, and he was a change of life, baby. And he said, I really changed my mama's life. Of course, which he did, I'm sure. You know,
That's
Mickey
funny.
was a cutter. He was something else.
That's
I love
funny.
Mickey.
Did you know my Uncle George lived very well?
Yeah, I did.
I didn't get to know him very, very long.
Yeah.
Was he a lot like my Uncle Freddie more?
I think that all three of them were kind of different. You know, they all were just a little different. And I knew Freddie more than any of them.
Really?
I think everybody knew Freddie.
Yeah, I think they did.
I preached Freddie's funeral.
Did you
know
really?
that? Yeah.
I was there.
Really? You don't remember that?
No.
Yeah, I preached his funeral. I told him a long time before he died, I said, look, he knew everything that happened down there. And I said, you need to tell somebody about this stuff, but don't publish it until you die because somebody will kill you.
About the stuff that happened.
Everything.
Everything in Mangum.
Yes, he knew everything that happened.
Really?
Yes, he did.
Why? How do you think he knew everything?
Because he was in on some of it.
That's so funny. He was a mess.
But you know, the Lord turned his life around, and you know he did a lot of good things in his singing and all. And I always thought Freddie had a good voice myself.
I remember he used to always give us cassette tapes.
Oh yeah.
Did he do that to you?
Oh yeah.
All the time. Every time I saw Uncle Freddie, he was giving us cassette tapes. Yeah. And I thought, Uncle Freddie, I don't listen to music like that. Yeah. You know, and it wasn't like I didn't listen to gospel, but I was just like, stop giving me cassette tapes. Like I don't know what you want me to do with them.
Well, he was just trying to make himself known.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. That's funny.
And he liked it, and he enjoyed it.
But then after he passed, I'm like looking for those cassette tapes now.
Yeah.
You know, I wish I could hear them.
I know.
And it's you know, being in the estate sale business, that's one of the things I realize that people go looking for the things that they lost or that they miss, you know, and I give anything
just a scrap of paper, just anything somebody wrote on or something, you know.
Yeah. I don't have any more of those tapes anymore. But
you know, I was telling you the other day about, I was at one of your estate sales, and I had like an epiphany like you had the other day. And I was in there with a group of people, and we was looking through some of the stuff and those people that already passed on, you know, and it hit me all of a sudden. I said, you know, one day it's going to be me. Somebody's going to be coming to my house and look through my stuff, you know. And I told them that, and they said, yeah, that is right. They kind of had this weird look on their face, you know.
What do you think it's going to
be
like?
But it'll happen to everybody, you know.
Yeah. What do you think it's going to be like?
What it's going to be like? What do you mean?
When somebody goes through all your stuff.
Oh.
What are they going to find?
I don't care.
You don't care? You don't care?
No.
Well, that's good. That's good.
I haven't got any secrets or anything.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Except in my...
you always find stuff that you there's always a surprise in every house I do.
Yeah, really?
Always.
Oh.
I've never been to a house where there's not something that I get caught off guard by something in every house.
Oh, really?
And you know, I had a preacher's house I did one time, and there was a book about sex positions.
Oh.
And you know, you're just like, of all things, of all people.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I guess he was studying up on
I
something.
guess he was. He didn't want to do it in the church,
Yeah.
or ask church members. But I should have written a book or written down everything I find in people's homes, because it is always.
Well, you can start now. It's not too late.
You're right. It's not too late.
Right.
It's not too late. One thing that I found one time was really neat. I did a doctor's house, and you know how doctors would transcribe their notes to their nurses and stuff. Well, the father had passed away, and he was the doctor, and I was in the closet. It's the closets where you always find stuff. The most ironic thing, you always find people's stuff.
That's what you call coming out of the closet.
You do. You find things in people's closets. And I found a tape recorder, and I listened to it, and it was him transcribing.
Oh.
And I thought to myself, man,
wow.
I got to give this to his child.
Yeah.
You know, so he can hear his dad's voice.
Yeah.
And that was cool to me, to be able to give that to him.
Sure.
Yeah. So that's kind of neat whenever I find that. Or whenever I find, like, recipes and cookbooks of their parents, you know, and things like that. But
stuff they've written down and all in their own handwriting. And everything.
Not too long ago, I found a Ouija board in someone's attic. First time I've ever ran across one of those. Mm-hmm. It was frightening. Yeah. I didn't touch it.
No, I won't, nothing like that.
Yeah.
Except the devil.
Right. Right. But so yeah, going back to the 50s, what more was it like? I mean, like, as far as, like, so nowadays, like, so I have a 13-year-old or 14-year-old and a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old, and they just get to play in my yard. Like, they have to, I don't even let them out in the street because cars drive by so fast in our neighborhood. And it's like, I remember when I grew up in Mangum, we lived right next door to Papa and Grandma, and we had a little cotton field that separated us. Yeah. And Papa Leon, he mowed right in front of it, so I had a little path to ride my little Power Wheels Jeep across to it. Yeah. And I remember I broke out of the house one night, and I left a note on my bed that says I'm going to Papa and Grandma's. And I drove my Jeep over there in the middle of the night. But that was it was, my parents never worried about where I was at, because I was always in the fields with Papa. And now I can't even let my kids pass my driveway. So what was it like then even?
Well, it was about the same thing, but you could leave your doors unlocked. You could shake hands with somebody over a deal. You didn't have to have everything written out. Of course, everybody knows it's different now. The whole world has changed. Yeah. I think the COVID thing that hit us is probably one of the worst things that's really happened to our country. Yeah. And then what's taking place in our own government right now is just heartbreaking. And but you know, the Bible tells us, and I think the prescriptions for turning everything around. He said, "If my people." Second Chronicles chapter 7 verse 14 says, "If my people which are called by name will humble themselves and pray and turn from their wicked way, then I will hear from heaven. I will forgive their sins and I will heal their land." That's a prescription for revival. It didn't say if the world, it didn't say if the Democrats or the Republicans. He said, if my people, those that are called by the name of the Lord, will humble themselves and pray, seek his face, turn from their wicked way. Then he said, I'll hear from heaven, forgive their sins, I'll heal their land. That's a prescription for it.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree.
You know, we wonder, you know, they said, well, where was God when all this happened? Well, where are you putting God now, you know? We've taken him out of our schools, we've taken him out of practically out of our country, you know? Yeah. And they said, well, where was God? Well, why would you want God if you've taken him away? Yeah. You know? Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it?
It is.
We want God when we need him.
Right. Yeah, at funerals.
Yeah, whatever, you know.
Yeah. Everybody asks for God at funerals. They just don't want to ask for him in church or, or school or on the money or in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's become
it's on the money says, "In God we trust."
Right.
You know? Do we trust in God?
Yeah.
Anymore?
I know. It's gonna be a lot of money to take back.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, times have been good, you know.
When did you see when did you see the biggest turn?
I think a big change happened, I think, and probably in the late 70s. I think it's when Roe versus Wade thing took place, and I'm definitely against abortion. I'm pro-life.
Me too.
And it just hurts me to think of millions of babies that have been destroyed that probably could have found a solution to cancer or whatever, All the brilliant minds has been wasted,
What was it like when that happened? Because obviously we didn't have the internet then. You could only find out through the newspaper once it had been,
right.
The verdict had been given. But
I remember we was having our district council, Sinners of God, and we sent a telegram to whoever was ahead of all of that.
What is a telegram?
What's a telegram?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Really, you don't know?
No, it's a transcribed thing. You send electronically.
Okay.
But anyway, you don't really know what a telegram is?
No, I really don't.
Really?
I've heard of them, but I don't know what it is.
Anyway, we let the people in the White House know that we were against it, and we said we feel like this is a step. We didn't just come down real hard. You're going to go to hell if you do this. But we said we feel like this is a step in the wrong direction. And I do believe that was a step in the wrong direction.
Who was president then?
Oh, I'm trying to remember.
Well, it was the Supreme Court that made the decision.
Yeah, Supreme Court.
So it didn't have anything to do with the presidency, I don't guess.
It was Supreme Court.
And so when y'all found out, was it just like mayhem everywhere, or was it just you could just tell people acted differently?
Well, not it didn't all happen. It's just like sin has a way of just taking over, and it's like cancer that takes hold of your body. I've heard of people saying, I don't feel bad at all. The next thing you know, they had a little something wrong with them. They go to the doctor, and you're ended up with cancer. It's a silent killer. And I think that's the same way it is with the corruption in the world today. It's a silent thing. You don't just automatically see it.
Right.
It's deceptive.
Yeah.
And it comes in and it kills and steals and destroys. The Bible says Satan has come to kill, to steal, and destroy.
How do you think people of your generation are dealing with the way things are right now? Like the way that when you watch the news and you see everything that's going on, I know the simple answer, the most obvious answer would be by prayer and God. But how do you go through day to day, living with the way things are, because you can't change the government, you can't change. But how do you cope with what's going on?
I have to deal with it on a personal level, and then when I get an opportunity to proclaim it, I do. But I think it has to start with us. And have your daily devotion and make sure that things are right between you and the good Lord, because we don't have no promise of tomorrow. Right. God said today, this is the day I've given you today. No promise of tomorrow.
I heard a quote not long ago. It said, live like there's tomorrow, because one day you'll be right.
That's right. That's good. Very, very profound.
Yeah. It was in that show I was telling you about, Yellowstone.
Yeah.
Kevin Costner has some good quotes in that. But when he said it, I was like, it's actually true. Yeah. One day you're going to be right.
Yeah.
There's not going to be a tomorrow.
Yeah. That's true.
So, but yeah, I guess.
And, we don't stop and think about that, because it's kind of a scary thing.
Yeah.
I realize I'll soon be 85 years old, and I know, well, if I live to be 100, that's only just 15 more years.
That's a long time, though.
Well, no, it isn't when you get there.
It's not? It doesn't seem like a long time?
No.
Really?
Well,
that'd be, 2037?
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah, well, it would be. But when you get there, you wouldn't think it's that long.
Yeah. Do you feel like you've lived a long time?
Yeah.
You do?
Have you
done everything you wanted to do?
Well, pretty much. I'm a happy man. And I love what I do. And I think I've told you that we made a lot of videos, and I think I made over 1,600 videos. Not that I'm such a great person, but I love all the people that write back or text back and say, we enjoyed it, made our day, those things kind of keep me going, and I love doing that. I love playing piano. I mean, I just can't wait to feel the keys, and play. And I don't have that great a voice, but I do the best I can, and people seem to like what I do.
Yeah.
And I'm having a good time. I really enjoy my life.
Did you ever play with Uncle Freddie?
He was older than me then. Freddie is probably 13 or 14 years older than me. My brother was 13 years older than me.
Okay, so they grew up
close to his age and all and everything. My brother.
What was his name?
Buddy Purvis.
Okay.
Purvis Lewis.
Okay. So he would have been close to Uncle Freddie.
Yeah.
My Papa Leon and Uncle Freddie, all those brothers were close.
Yeah.
They were. Grandma Carrie, I don't know what it was about Grandma Carrie, but she kept them close.
She kept them, yeah, she sure did.
Now, I never knew my great-grandfather. Did you ever know her husband?
Yep. Oh, yeah. Uncle George.
What
You
was
talking about Uncle George?
Yeah. What was he like?
Oh, he was a good man. I had the privilege, I guess, to some degree, of leading him to the Lord.
Really?
Yeah. I went back to the little old church where I was raised up and preached revival. And they did the best they could. They put, like pasteboard against the wall for insulations and whatever, But when I went to that church, it was nothing but a sawdust floor, but it had a floor in it and everything. And I went back and I preached revival there.
Huh. And you remember he was there?
Oh, yeah. And he stood up and he testified with tears streaming down his face. And he said, I feel so bad the things that I did. He used to, Uncle George, I'm sure, he didn't mean it's the things that he said.
No, I didn't know him at all.
But he would, he would tell people, he'd tell evangelists that would come in, he said, they've been in sin so long, they're moss-back hypocrites.
That's funny.
And,
Seems like that's probably where Papa and Uncle Freddie got
well,
their,
sometimes,
that's where they got their
sometimes I think
joking from.
They did.
Was he a jokester?
But I think that actually Uncle George, he felt condemnation from it, and he stood up and he cried and said, I wish I hadn't done those kind of things, And I think Uncle George was right with the Lord when he died. In fact, I played piano at his funeral.
Really? Wow. Were you at Grandma Carrie's?
Sure I was. I went to see her in the hospital, I know, several times.
Her and my grandma didn't get along.
Your mother and grandma?
No. My grandma Christine.
Oh no, I know, yeah.
You knew that?
Yeah.
So that wasn't a thing that
yeah.
It wasn't, everybody knew that?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if everybody knew it or not.
But
yeah.
you knew it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's neat.
Yeah.
See if there's anything else I really wanted to learn about. It's just interesting doing these estate sales and I'm dealing, I was born in 82, So, and I know, I'm a baby, I get it. I'm about to be 40 though, so I don't feel like a baby. But it's just the change and of how people value things and the way people view things.
Yeah.
And it's like when I open the door that Friday morning when everybody comes in, it's like this I get ambushed with people, and they're all coming to get one particular thing that they saw online, a picture of something that they saw. And I never can predict what it's going to be. It's always something else. Every person.
Do you ever have anybody to want to wrestle over in one?
Oh, they do.
I do.
They do. And a lot of times they'll ask me to give them the layout of the house.
Yeah.
And I've seen them before. Like I did a sale not too long ago. A husband came in to get this pot for his wife. It was like a crock pot.
Yeah. And
another person beat him to it. And he said, I was supposed to get that pot for my wife. And he was like, I don't even want to go home now. And the person was kind enough. She goes, here, I'll let you have it. I don't want your wife to get upset at you.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So but I've never seen any of them like get into like a throwdown match.
Yeah.
But they do. Yeah, they've. I've seen them like make mean remarks towards one another.
Yeah.
About different things, but usually they're somehow like when they're standing in line, they'll walk up and I'll say, hey, what are y'all here for? They don't want to tell me because they're afraid that the person in front of them might beat them to it.
Yeah.
And I found that out. But at first when I went out there and I'd ask them that, I thought they'd just, open up and tell me because they'd be excited to come get whatever it was. But then they were like, we don't want to tell you because we don't want the other person to get it. And I thought, well, I didn't even think of that. I didn't think somebody else would be, you'd be afraid somebody might take your stuff. But, it's Fridays, the rush of everybody coming in to get something they saw. And it seems like it's always something that their grandma had.
And that's something.
Always.
Yeah.
And you can't put a price tag on that. Yeah. They don't care what it is. They don't care the price.
Well, Terry, you do such a great job. I mean.
Well, thank you.
And I remember you when you was quite young, and I was at your dad's funeral, and I saw those 3 beautiful blonde girls, and I thought how attractive y'all were. And you've just become a beautiful lady.
Thank you.
And you got such a way with people, and I think that you're gonna go far with this. I really do.
Thank you.
I sure do.
Yeah, I was 16 when my dad died.
Wow.
Yeah. My younger sister was 11.
Wow. And
Tasha, my oldest, would have been 25. Yeah. Yeah, they were pretty young back then. It didn't hit me at first when it happened, like when Mom came in there and told me, and she first told me, it was my first day of my junior year of high school, and she told me, and when she said it, your dad was in a car accident, and I thought, okay, well, when are we going to go to the hospital?
Yeah.
And then she said, well, he didn't make it. And it still didn't hit me.
Yeah.
And I tried to, I've always been the one of us 3 girls that have tried to pretend like I'm the strongest.
Yeah.
Or not even pretend, like I try to carry myself with that type of presence that I can handle anything.
You look like you can handle a lot. You really do.
Well, I pride myself on that. And, I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but
it is good.
The whole week, that you're going through prepping for the funeral, I didn't have much to do with it because I was only 16. But I remember the funeral was at the church in Bethlehem, down there in Mangum, and I remember being there, and I was on the front row, and I remember when it was time for the at the end when everybody stands up, the family walk up to the casket and say goodbye, then they walk out. Well, I remember all that week leading up to that, I probably didn't shed a tear because I wanted everybody to think I can handle this. I'm strong, I'm the tough one of the bunch. I got a little sister to watch after, and my older sister, she can handle her own kind of thing. But when I went to try to stand up, I couldn't stand up. I couldn't feel my legs, nothing. And thankfully, Donnie and one of the other pallbearers came in there. It was almost like I had a realization of like, this is it.
Yeah.
Like I'm never going to see my dad.
All of a sudden it hits you.
It did, and I couldn't stand up, and they had to carry me out because I couldn't stand up. But up until that point, I was like, I'm tough. I'm tough. I can handle this. But at that moment, I wasn't so tough.
Well, tough times don't last, but tough people do.
That's true.
And tough times sometimes toughens you.
Yeah.
I've gone through a lot of stuff, like being a minister, and people say things to you, that I can still even remember, even now, some of the stuff that was said to me and hurt me to the bone. Could have caused me to even almost quit the ministry. But I think it's made me tougher. And I came to Swartz here in 66, 55 years ago. I was 29 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you stayed here this whole time?
I said, if I can't make it here, I can't make it anywhere. I'm serious. I said that. Can't make it here, can't make it anywhere. And so all my kids went through school here. They have their school buddies and all they can call, which I don't have any school buddies. All mine's probably in heaven
all
right
yours
now.
Are dead. You've outlived them. It's those Lewis genes.
Yeah. We was talking about, cousins and all. I don't think anybody remembers David Beatty. David Beatty was my best friend when I was with all my cousins in Faraday. We were real tight. And but he was Gerald Lewis's first cousin on his mama's side. Their mothers were sisters.
Okay.
And he just died about 6 or 7 years ago. And he was in Cleveland, Tennessee, and he graduated from Faraday High high school. He went on and graduated from Bible college.
Really?
And made quite something of himself. And he'd call me, I like to boast a lot. I mean,
So he's a preacher?
He'd write his name on. We got David Bay, and he'd call me, from Cleveland and say, I'm in this nice home sitting up here on the hill looking over the holy city.
Wow.
He just I let him go with it,
Yeah.
But he loved to do that. But I loved him. I loved that guy. I really did. He'd call me just about every 2 or 3 weeks,
Uh-huh.
I just had a buddy not long ago that passed, and he was 74, I believe, had a heart attack, and he called me laughing all the time, let nothing get him down. And he finally got to go to Brunson, Missouri, and that was always, he loved music. He played guitar like Chad Atkins. I helped him make a record, and he finally got his dream, and he'd tell me all these big singers would come by his church and all that stuff,
That's neat.
And that probably didn't last 6 months, and
Really?
checked out on us.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'll ask you this, and I'll stop, beating your brain, but if you could think of something, being that you're going to be 85, 84 right now, back in, in your teens or early 20s, what's something now, I guess, you could tell yourself back then that might would have, I guess, you don't want to say, you don't want to change your life because you wouldn't be where you're at right now if things would have done different. But I guess mentally, anything that you might have struggled with then, now at the age where you're at, what is something that you wish you could have told yourself that you might have been struggling with then that would have made a difference?
I can look back and see mistakes that I made, like in my ministry, that I maybe went about something maybe different than I would do it now. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could go back and know what we know now? And then, I talk to my nephew out in Houston, Texas, about every night, and he always says that rearview mirror it's real small. You're looking behind you, So hindsight, so great.
Yeah.
But yet we can't go back. But yet, like you said, there's some things that I probably would have changed, but not a lot of different.
Well, okay, so let me ask you a different way. If there's some things that knowing now, if you were looking at a 20-year-old guy or a 15-year-old guy, at that age, some of the things they struggle with.
Yeah.
What's something you would tell them not to worry about? It's not that big of a deal. That you probably got this on your mind, and you don't need to have this on your mind, or not even that. But look, as you go through life, brother, don't do this.
Yeah. I would just tell somebody to be real dedicated to the Lord. I don't know. The mindset of Christianity today is people don't have a personal relationship with the Lord. It's sad, Tara. I mean, it's that people don't. They say, "Well, I don't ever have God to talk to me." Well, do you listen? Yes, He talks to me. I don't hear Him in an audible voice, but in so many ways, the Lord talks to me.
Yeah.
And sometimes my spirit gets trouble. And I don't know what's wrong. And back in 2008, I had a health issue with my lungs. I mean, I thought I was going to die. My wife, I lost her in 16. And I was sitting over there in my easy chair, which is my good chair I like to sit in. And I told her, I said, by this time next year, I won't be here. That was in 2008.
Wow.
And I finally got a hold of a lung doctor with prayer. I mean, I would pray. I mean, me and the Lord, we really got close. And I'd get in my car and I'd pray every day when I leave. And I think my relationship with the Lord helped pull me through what I was going through, and I got all right. And I broke my hip, and what was it? 2 years ago in August.
Really?
Yeah, 2 years ago. Right out there in my garage, trying to get a cat up under my truck.
Wow, and you broke your hip.
Broke my hip, and I mean, I jumped up and I fell backwards and right on my behind, and I knew it broke. I mean, I couldn't move my
tell?
left leg, and I pulled myself on the concrete, and I didn't lock the door, thank God, and I pulled myself in the house, all the way into the bathroom,
Wow.
changed my clothes, and called my son and told him, I said, you got to take me to the hospital, I broke my hip.
You were able to change your clothes with a broken hip.
Well, to some degree.
Yeah, yeah.
And, but I got myself ready to go to the hospital, and that was the last day of August. And they x-rayed me up, it's broke. And September the 1st was the next day I had surgery. I was in the hospital 9 days, and I never had any pain.
Really?
No pain.
Wow.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
No pain at all.
Huh.
Any other time, I'd have been scared out of my mind. If you thought I had to have surgery,
Uh-huh.
you had, oh, Lord, no.
Yeah.
But I know it's just like my fear left me and everything, and I was willing to surrender. Yeah, okay, I got to have surgery, got to have surgery. They come in and gave me a shot. I was not nervous or nothing.
Huh.
And they took me in. The next thing I knew, they was patting me on the face. Miss Lewis.
Wake up.
What is it?
Wake up.
He threw his surgery. Boom. Boy, I mean, I think that gurney had like his own steroids.
Yeah,
Boy,
yeah,
I mean,
just
into my room
zoomed you
over
right on
there.
out.
And there was a bunch of preacher friends of mine was there, and my sons and all. So, it wasn't that bad after all.
Huh. That's cool.
But yeah, but, you know, getting back to telling people, you know, I would just say your walk with the Lord. I know a young man right now. I don't know him. I mean, I wouldn't know if I saw him because he was a kid, but I understand that he went to the penitentiary for 35 years for something. I know he was always in and out of trouble. And my son Tommy at the time was my youth pastor, and he tried to talk to the kid, and he talked to the moms, and every time he wanted something done, you know, she'd run to the school and get him out and all this kind of stuff, you know, and I guess he depended on that. He just got to where, you know, he became nothing. And the last time I visited him in the jail, and I said, boy, you need to straighten your life out, you know. The last time I saw him, he was walking in front of my church, headed back toward Monroe. And I called his name, and I said, boy, please don't get back in jail. Oh, I'm not. I'm right after that, he got into a lot of trouble and back in jail. But I would tell people, you know, it's hard to tell people now. There's so many things that's coming against so many people and so many issues that people have to face now. It's a tough world to live in.
Yeah.
It's tough.
It's a lot different than when you grew up, huh?
Oh, yeah.
I think
yes.
the internet makes a big difference.
Oh,
I mean, I think that's pretty obvious. Is that when something happens, you know, it doesn't take a week or a month, or it doesn't take a amount of time, and somebody puts it on their phone in a matter of seconds. The whole world can see what just happened.
Well, my whole life changed when I got on Facebook.
I tell you, that's where my biggest audience is on Facebook.
Yeah.
I don't even worry about, you know, other social media networks, because people that come to estate sales and that are, you know, into this thing, they're all on Facebook.
I know.
It's my mom.
Yeah.
You know.
You know, I didn't even know anything about Facebook until probably about 6 years ago, I guess. And I didn't know anything. And my grandson happened to get on it. You know, kids don't know how to get And I got on it, and I had to gradually work out. I couldn't even type stuff in there, you know. And then the one I had was a little flip phone. You couldn't do much typing on it anyway. And but I got the iPhone now. Well, that iPhone is
so now you can
that's
do
a
it.
little computer now.
I know.
And I can send pictures across the country and stuff.
I know.
It's
neat.
amazing.
But you've mastered Facebook enough now that you can at least post videos.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You know your way around it now.
Yeah. I think I know enough, really.
You know enough to do the things you want to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, cool.
Absolutely.
All right, well, I'll turn my camera off now.
Okay.
That wasn't so bad.
No, I enjoyed talking
Me
to
too.
you.
Me too. I learned a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of things I didn't know. I mean, I knew. Like I said, JJ jokes to me all the time. He's like, you know, if there's something that you want to know about somebody, you're going to find out the last 3 things they ate. You know, what their mom's maiden name was, and that's just who I am. I'll go ahead and turn it off. But like JJ